Welcome back. This is the Domain 2, Task 13, Observed Activity. Let's get started. Task Overview. The focus of this task is to develop the stakeholder management plan by analyzing needs, interests, and potential impact, in order to effectively manage stakeholders' expectations and engage them in project decisions. In this Observe activity, we will introduce the context of the task, the key concepts, essential technical knowledge, and discuss important issues. On the next 5 screens, you will find visuals and descriptive elements that inform the context of the Domain 2. Cloud Tag, Overview, and Task Line. Skip these screens if you have already taken another course in this domain and already got your refresher. You will resume your study when you reach the Key Concepts screen. Let's take a fresh look at this task. Where does it fit in? According to the RDS 2015 published by PMI, there are 13 tasks associated with the Domain 2. What main outcomes a project manager could expect to achieve as he or she completes these 13 project activities? Domain 2 Overview. Planning a project involves the steps required to develop a realistic project management plan. The project manager will lead the analysis of the work efforts to address a variety of aspects regarding the knowledge areas of time, scope, cost, risk, quality, communication, procurement, human resource, and stakeholders. Once the project plan is approved, the kickoff meeting will officially start the execution of the project. We have created short headlines for each one of the 13 tasks introduced in the RDS 2015. Next screen will show you how their progress fits into the project plan. See below our task line presenting the 13 tasks of the second domain as delineated in the new 2015 RDS. The last and 13th task is marked in bold. Take note of the preceding tasks. The final tasks of the second domain are presented below. Take note of these important tasks. Among the projects you have completed so far, do you recall performing all or part of these planning tasks? In this presentation, we will focus our interest toward the task number 13. How familiar are you with this task? Take a minute to read the full description of this RDS task as summarized in the PMP Exam Outline 2015, page 7. Let's identify key concepts specific to this 13th task. Stakeholder Analysis. Stakeholder Management Plan. Manage and engage stakeholders. Let's clarify our understanding of these concepts in the context of the project manager day-to-day job. How do you understand these concepts? Take a moment to write down notes in your own words. Always check the latest PMBOK guide when you are in doubt. When you are ready, move on to the next screen where we present note cards with our digest of these important key terms. You will compare with your current understanding and identify gaps. This quick mental exercise will facilitate your knowledge acquisition. Conducting stakeholder analysis. Who do you need to engage and involve in your project, and to what level? How can you leverage stakeholder support to ensure the success of your project? These questions will be answered when you complete an effective stakeholder analysis, where you identify those individuals who are impacted by your project or can impact your project in a positive or negative way. Classifying your stakeholders correctly is critical to your success as a project manager. If you miss or miscategorize stakeholders, you may find yourself encountering major issues on your project. Be sure to take the time and effort to analyze your project stakeholders correctly. Stakeholder Management Plan. You need a clear, actionable plan to effectively manage your project stakeholders. With the understanding of how your project stakeholders will impact your project, gained through accurate stakeholder analysis, you can establish those effective relationships with stakeholders that will make the difference in the success or potential failure of your project. The Stakeholder Management Plan is a detailed plan you will use and implement to ensure the success of your project. Further, it's an iterative process that you will need to revisit as your project progresses and stakeholders change. Manage and engage stakeholders. Brush up on your communication skills because they will be essential to engaging your project stakeholder and to managing them effectively. Your goal is to increase support and minimize resistance of your stakeholders so that you can ensure project success. Listening to your stakeholders is key, so be sure to implement the needed communications and issue management plans and processes to keep your stakeholders supportive and committed to the success of your project. PM Technical Knowledge. In addition to the concepts presented earlier, it is also important to keep in mind essential knowledge and definitions. This task requires technical knowledge of the stakeholder management plan. Step 1. Write your own summary. Write down your own definition and key points to describe the essential project management knowledge associated with this topic. Step 2. Review our one-page summary. Browse our collection of knowledge sheets and review quickly the project management essential knowledge we have summarized. Step 3. Self-assess your review. How did you do? Comparing your summary with the one shared by peers should help you reinforce your foundational knowledge. Pause and go to next screen when you are finished. Well done! We have set a solid foundation to tackle implementation. Now, it is up to you to make it work. What are the useful project management processes, techniques, and tools that will enable you to engage stakeholders and achieve this task's goals? Ensure understanding of the project manager's duties for this task, one step at a time. See next a list of 5 pieces to take into consideration when you review the stakeholder management plan in your organization. What are the main challenges a project manager needs to overcome to complete this task? See below our tasks review card. 1. Stakeholder engagement. 2. Stakeholder impact. 3. Relationships or overlaps. 4. Information and communications needs. And 5. Right-sizing and updating. What are your thoughts? Does this list make sense? On the next screen, we selected a leader's words of wisdom to bring perspective and inspire you as you tackle this task. The stakeholder approach to business sees integration rather than separation, and sees how things fit together. This quote from John Mackey, American businessman and founder of Whole Foods Markets, reminds us of the importance of stakeholders and the duty of the project manager to properly identify, assess, and manage project stakeholders to ensure project success. Let's take a look at issues that you may encounter and how to address them using trusted project management practice standards. Do I understand the best ways to engage my stakeholders? After identifying stakeholders using the stakeholder register, you will need to meet with and discuss ways to effectively engage your stakeholders individually and as a group. Some high-impact, high-interest stakeholders may have little time for your project. Others may have very high interest and little impact to your project. How can you keep them all happy and feeling engaged given their diverse set of needs? Have I fully and correctly understand the impact of each stakeholder? Recall that stakeholders can have both positive and negative impacts on your project. Be sure to use one or more of the stakeholder analysis tools in PMBOK to gain that accurate assessment of the impact of each of your stakeholders. For those you identify as high impact, be sure you meet with them individually to validate your assessment, and to start building a good relationship to keep them engaged to the right level. Remember, you need to manage them closely. How do your stakeholders relate to each other? Your project stakeholders exist within your stakeholder community, and they may have relationships and overlaps with other stakeholders. Be sure to understand how your key stakeholders relate to one another. Which ones have worked together before? Which ones have a history? Which ones can you call your allies? Have you discussed what information your stakeholders need? Along with the type of information your stakeholders expect to receive from you as project manager, you should have a clear understanding of the methods and frequency that they expect to receive this information from the project. This alignment with your stakeholders early in the project will reduce the risk of misunderstandings later if and when project issues arise. The stakeholder management plan needs to be current and right-sized. One certainty of project management is that things change. This could not be more true when it comes to project stakeholders. Not only do stakeholders themselves change, but their interest, involvement, and impact can wax and wane as your project progresses. Be sure to update the plan and don't hesitate to resize your stakeholder management plan accordingly. Let's take a pause to reflect as we are getting ready to wrap up this first presentation. Did you observe any discrepancy between your current practice and the review items presented in the previous screens? Why not pick one or two of these new best practices exposed in this presentation and make it your goal to implement them? That's it for now. We have collected important observations about key concepts, processes, techniques, and tools associated with this task. Make a mental note or write down the main points you want to retain. Take a couple of minutes before you jump up to the time for action. To earn points for this activity, you will complete a truths and myths quick quiz. In the next Explore activity, you will take a best practice survey and explore critical factors that can break or make this project's task. Keep in mind the information provided in this presentation